Madrid were in talks with him first. Rodri chose Barca anyway. That tells you everything about where he sees this project going. Okay, so I need you to actually sit with this one for a second, because Barcelona might have just pulled off one of the biggest signings in the club's recent history, and I don't think people have fully processed it yet.
Trip and doubles the lead.
Rodri, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, reportedly heading to Camp Nou. Let's get into it properly, because there's a lot more to this story than just good player joins good club.
Oh, it's squeezed in by Rodri, and City have snatched it in stoppage time, and that is what champions do.
For anyone who's slept on him, Rodri Hernandez, 30 years old, Spanish, plays as a defensive midfielder, the pivot, the guy who sits just in front of the back four. He came up through Atletico Madrid's academy, actually started at Villarreal on loan first, then broke into Atleti's first team under Diego Simeone before City came calling in 2019 for around 70 million euros. At the time, people thought that fee was mad for a defensive midfielder. Looking back now, absolute bargain.
Haaland, 2. Rodri.
Oh, it's squeezed in by Rodri, and City have snatched it in stoppage time, and that is what champions do.
Since joining City, he's basically become the most durable, most trusted player Pep Guardiola has ever coached. We're talking almost 300 appearances in all competitions, more Premier League minutes than practically anyone else at the club across that span. He scored the winning goal in the 2023 Champions League final against Inter Milan, won the treble that year. Then, in 2024, he wins the Ballon d'Or, a defensive midfielder, not a striker, not a winger, beating out Vinicius Jr. in one of the most talked about Ballon d'Or results in years.
Number 1, Omer Glazer to deny last. Rodri.
Now here's where it gets interesting, and honestly, this is the part that explains why every top club in Europe wants him. September 2024, City are playing Arsenal, innocuous coming together with Thomas Partey. Rodri goes down, and it turns out to be a torn ACL. Season over for him. And what happens to Manchester City? They basically fall apart. No trophy that season for the first time since 2016 to 17. People forget how dominant City had been for years, and one injury to one midfielder just unraveled the whole machine. The numbers are wild too. Before that injury, City were losing something like 11% of the games Rodri played and losing almost a quarter of the games he missed. That's not a coincidence. That's a team that literally cannot function the same way without their pivot controlling the tempo. Then it got worse. He came back, had a setback with his knee again, missed more games, then a hamstring problem on top of that. It's been almost 2 years of City fans holding their breath every time he goes down for a set piece. But here's the redemption arc. This summer, World Cup, Spain win it, and Rodri is named player of the tournament. Golden Ball winner. Captain of a World Cup winning Spain side. So this isn't a declining 30-year-old cashing out. This is a guy who just proved on the biggest stage possible that he's still the best in his position on the planet.
I only have one thing to say. One thing and one thing only. If Rodri lands Barcelona, Real Madrid does not need to get ready. The world needs to get ready.
And that's exactly when the transfer stuff kicked into gear. He had a bit of minor back surgery right after the World Cup, and while he's been recovering, his camp and Barcelona have been talking. Now this part's actually kind of a soap opera. For months, literally going back to earlier this year, everyone assumed Rodri to Real Madrid was basically done. He came out in an interview and said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that you can't turn down the biggest clubs in the world, and people took that as him basically confirming Madrid. He grew up an Atletico fan, but he's talked before about how the Bernabeu atmosphere gets to him. But something shifted. Madrid and City couldn't agree on a fee.
Into the final year of his contract at the Etihad, Manchester City desperate to tie him down to a longer-term contract. Well, Real Madrid are spotting an opportunity here because we know they've been interested for a while.
City reportedly wanted close to $86 million. Madrid were only offering around $57 million. While that stalled, Barcelona swooped. Hansi Flick apparently got on the phone with him personally, and Rodri gave Barca the green light to start formal talks with City. Real Madrid are still technically not completely out of it as of the last update, but every report from the last few days points one direction. Barcelona have taken the lead, personal terms are basically agreed, and City and Barca are working out the final numbers, somewhere in the region of 50 million euros. Tactically, this is the part I find most interesting. Barcelona's whole identity under Flick is about controlling the ball, playing a high line, circulating possession quickly. That's basically the exact same philosophy Rodri's been playing inside for 6 years at City under Guardiola. This isn't a player having to learn a new system, this is a player walking into a system he's already fluent in. And he wouldn't be walking into a strange dressing room either. 8 members of Spain's World Cup winning squad are already there. Joan Garcia, Eric Garcia, Pau Cubarsí, Gavi, Dani Olmo, Pedri, Ferran Torres, Lamine Yamal. He was literally captaining several of these guys a few weeks ago. So look, is this a guaranteed fix-everything signing? No. Because of the injury history, he's not walking straight into full fitness, and this move is expected to actually finalize around August 12th when the Spain internationals report back. But if, and it's a big if, he stays healthy, Barcelona are getting arguably the best pure number 6 in world football, at the peak of his reputation, for a fee that in today's market is honestly not that crazy. Real Madrid missing out on this one is going to sting for a while, especially with how close it seemed at points this year. And honestly, if you zoom out, Rodri isn't happening in isolation. It fits a pattern. This summer, Barcelona have been quietly, and not so quietly, stacking the whole squad. They've already brought in Anthony Gordon from Newcastle for around £69 million, which is actually their biggest individual signing since Frankie de Jong back in 2019. They added Karim Adeyemi from Dortmund too, another attacking option to rotate with Lamine Yamal. But here's the part I actually find most exciting as a football nerd. What they're doing underneath the first team. Remember Hamza Abdelkarim, the young Egyptian striker we talked about? Barcelona didn't stop there. Reports say they were working on 4 separate youth signings for Barca Athletic around the same time. A centre-back from Genk, a left-back from Uruguay, a winger from Club Bruges on top of Abdelkarim. That's a club deliberately restocking the pipeline underneath the stars. The same pipeline that already produced Pedri, Gavi, and Lamine Yamal. So picture the whole thing together. Rodri anchoring the midfield at the top. A front line stacked with Yamal, Rafinha, Gordon, and Adeyemi. And a conveyor belt of teenage talent coming through La Masia right behind them. With Abdelkarim tipped by some outlets as the long-term answer at striker once Lewandowski's gone. That's not just one marquee signing. That's a club building at every level at once. It's the kind of squad building that wins things for years, not just one season. Hamza Abdelkarim. Egyptian striker just turned 18 and Barcelona already locked him down long-term. Barcelona pulled him from Al Ahly in Egypt, paid around 1.5 million euros, and signed him through 2029. That's not a loan, that's not a trial. That's the club saying, we see something here. Right now, he's grinding it out with Barça Athletic, the reserve team, which, let's be real, is exactly where you want a young striker cutting his teeth. He's not skipping steps. He made noise at the U17 World Cup, scoring goals for Egypt, which is honestly what put him on Barcelona's radar in the first place. He's actually with the senior Egypt squad at the World Cup right now too, which tells you the ceiling on this kid isn't small. No senior Barca minutes yet, no Clasico moment, but that's the point of a video like this. You want to know his name before that moment happens. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this the signing that pushes Barca over the top in Spain and Europe? Or are people overrating what one 30-year-old midfielder with a rough injury history can actually change? Appreciate you watching. Catch you in the next one.